Hey, Rolling Out family, it's your girl, Christal Jordan, with another edition of Reality Check. Now, usually we talk about relationships, but today's reality check is about a very, very serious subject that we've kind of been talking about for the entire 2020, or at least the beginning of 2020. TV1 has a new movie titled Blood on Her Badge, and we're going to talk with two of the actors. Their faces are very familiar. I'm going to bring them on right now, but we're going to talk about police reform, why it's necessary, and why we're seeing so many issues with police, especially in our community. So please help me welcome Tequan Richmond.
Hello, how you guys doing?
And we're going to bring in the beautiful Rayven Ferrell.
Hey,
hey, Rayven.
Hey, how are you?
I'm good. How are you all doing today?
I'm doing well.
Good. Your week, you guys, how has your week been going so far?
It's going pretty good. I'm excited.
It's good. Yeah.
Well, we're here to talk about this movie. I had a chance to watch the screener, and it's a very serious film. There's a lot in here. You guys do a great job, and kudos to TV1 for tackling such a serious issue. As I was mentioning, we've heard a lot about police brutality this year, but usually when we think of police brutality, we think of number one, a man, and number two, a white man. And in this movie, that's not the case at all. And I think most of us know that we deal with intraracial issues with the police, but this is a really different version of that, or at least different than we've seen publicly. So in this film, we see Rayven as an African-American female police officer who is corrupt. So I want to ask you guys, what did you both think when you had a chance to read the script?
Well, me at first when I read the script, I thought like this is insane. I definitely didn't know, like it doesn't seem like something that'll be based off like true events.
Right.
So I was in shock for sure. It definitely gave a twist on things. But I think that it was something that needed to be done and needed to be shown, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Definitely. Yeah. I definitely thought it was the perfect time to touch on this topic that we did. And it was just couldn't have been a more perfect time. And it was something that we both had never done before in our careers. So yeah, it was a great opportunity.
Well, you both, like I was telling Tequan earlier, I'm a big fan of Boomerang. And of course, we had a chance to see you in All Eyes on Me, the Tupac movie, and some other things. So like these roles are very different, especially for you, Rayven. So I want to ask you a little bit about, because your character is so complex, right? She's a police officer, but she comes from a family where there's child abuse. She's abused by her father. She's abandoned by her mother. And her father is a former military vet that has some serious issues. So we see her deal with depression and being suicidal. So how were you able to prepare for such a heavy role with so many complexities?
I think as far as like mentally, it was a thing because I can't say that I didn't have a parent, she lacked love from her parent. My mom, on the other hand, is my number one supporter.
Yeah.
So in order to connect with that, I kind of had to imagine not having that one thing that has allowed me to move on, that one thing that has allowed me to keep being persistent and to be motivated. Mm-hmm. So that one factor left, how would I be? The complete opposite, Right. And also just, even though she was seeking different things within certain people, I feel like a lot of the emotions that she was going through, we've all experienced. I know I've experienced, but maybe in different situations and in different ways. And it's all about like just trying to find that same emotions to connect.
Right. So what about you? Because I mean, even though your character's got some issues too, we don't get to see his as clearly as we do with Rayven. But reading the script and seeing so much, I mean, there's mental health, there's the military veteran that is unable to handle the fact that his wife leaves. Like it's just so much. How were you kind of able to unpack all of that as you read through the script and became familiar with the story?
Yeah, as you said, you don't get to see much of Trey's background, except in a few spots where you can almost imagine what it's like. So for me as an actor, it was good for me to try to create his own little backstory, and to find out the reasons why he is the way he is and why he uses manipulation as his tool to get what he wants. Because there's a reason behind that. And I also just felt it was important to bring this character as a young black man to life for other characters to see, and especially with this young black man and police interaction. I didn't want it to be entirely negative. I didn't want it to be too positive as well. I also just wanted to be understandable. So Trey is a character that had many layers that we didn't get to see. So it was my job to create that and bring through a range of emotions.
Well, you did, because even though we see he's manipulating her, it feels their relationship feels very authentic, right? And it occurred to me that
he got me. You see?
He did, because I'm watching it. I mean, it takes a while before you start to see his motives. You know what I mean? It takes a while before it becomes clear. So this is Reality Check. We talk about relationships all the time, and a big piece of this movie is a very dysfunctional relationship, right? So I want to ask you guys first, outside of this, what is the most, and I want to ask you personally, but what is the most dysfunctional relationship you think you've seen? Like if they're, because the character, without giving too much away, she's so needy for love, right? She wants, willing, she's going against the girl code and buying, she's tricking off.
That ain't Rayven.
You got to see all that.
That is not Rayven. Rayven was not.
I got a Birkin and
everything that D is tricking off, but that's a real thing. What have you ever been in a relationship where you gave up more than you feel like you should have?
Yeah, and you know what's so crazy? It was my first love.
Okay,
it's the same. I feel like it was the same. I mean, I ain't never, I ain't never,
never
check nobody. Oh no, I'm kidding. But I think it's really particular with your first love, because it's your first time experiencing it and you don't know any better. You're more like oblivious to like what's really going on, especially when it's a thing. I know with me, it wasn't per se that I don't even feel like I was loved, but it was a thing to where, okay, I had just moved to a different state. And it was like this person became my home in a person, because I knew no one else in this state, and this is all I knew. So it was like, no, I need this, because if I don't have that, then like I don't even feel like I'm supposed to be, in this place.
Yeah.
So yeah, I use a lot of that as well to relate.
That's really good, because I think it's a small vulnerability, like just being in another state. She didn't have love. She didn't have anybody around. So hers was a lot more extreme, but at least you could tap into that feeling of that person kind of filling that void. Okay, Tequan, you give us yours. So it
doesn't count. He don't even know. He be the person.
Look, I think every young man goes through a heartbreak once in their young lifetime, probably around like your teens, that where for a young man, that first heartbreak is it. That's like, once you are a dog after that, nothing else is good for you.
I've heard that so much. Why are men not able to rebound from the first heartbreak, Tequan?
It's so hard because now you have this outlook on women forever, it seems, because you're putting them all in the same box. Women do it as well sometimes.
But it's like
I feel like men can't really like take what they dish out.
They can't.
Women go through that like this. You have 5 relationships and only one, like out of those 5, like at least 3 or 4 is just like, really, and you still like, no, I still gotta find love. I still want to find love.
She's
it's
right.
So easy that a guy is like one and done.
Tequan, we want answers.
Yeah, no.
Get into it.
I wish I could, but you know what? When I got into my 20s, I did find that again. And I tried everything I could to hold on to it. And it just didn't work in my favor. And I found myself back in that vulnerable position again. And I didn't like it. But I think it just takes some time. And for men who mature a lot slower and at a lot slower pace than women do, it comes a time where you're going to start to realize, hey, we can reciprocate the same type of love and the same type of respect. That's what's super important. The same type of respect. And once you find a woman who's able to do that for you, you're gonna sacrifice and compromise. You'll be fine.
Okay, now I gotta ask you both on the flip side of that. I'm gonna start with you, Tequan, because it's one thing to be the person that is vulnerable. It's another thing to be the person that is able to manipulate that vulnerability, right? So my question to you, now is: Have you been in a relationship where you realized that person just was willing to give you maybe too much of themselves? Like they weren't rooted in a great foundation themselves. So they were just too open, too willing.
Miss Christal, what are you trying to do? We're
talking about a blood on her badge. We're talking.
Okay, I didn't know. Are we talking about Trey? Or are we talking about
about relationships? Like how would a man handle that? How would a mature Trey handle the fact that D was just willing? I mean, she was tricking off. I mean, he had bags. He was going shopping.
I want to take you shopping. What?
Look, any mature man would have let that woman, on a serious note, any mature man would actually let that woman go and find somebody who's going to actually care about her. And that's something I had to learn as becoming a mature man.
Yeah.
Now, when I was young and dumb, it would have been like, I'm about to get everything out of this one. This is the key. And it's sad that a lot of young men think that way. But it's like I said, it comes to a maturity thing. You just don't know any better. And the only person for most, I can't speak for everybody, but most young Black men, the only woman that you will have to compare to is your mother, which is incomparable. It's impossible for somebody to meet your mother's standards. So when you find a woman that is close enough and that you think is your other half, then that's when you're gonna act right.
Okay. What about you, Rayven? Have you ever dated someone or been in a relationship where you felt like that person was just was just giving too much, and maybe how vulnerable D was to the point where Trey was able to see that she was suicidal. Like he saw all her openness. Have you ever had a situation where maybe a person you thought this person may not be healthy enough to be in this relationship?
I have. And it was one of those things to where the person I felt like treated me so well. And it was like, I deserve this, because after experiencing so much, going through so many situations where you feel like you aren't valued. When you get that person, you're just like, okay, this is what I'm supposed to have. But the connection isn't there, and you don't really love this person. You're just like, this is what I need, right?
Right.
Then I got to a point to where it was like, well, I know when I was that person in the relationship, it used to kill me for you not to for the guy not to tell me what is wrong or what why can't we get just to let me know. And to be straight up, be verbatim. So I was like, I couldn't keep going. I'm like, I have to just let you know what's up.
I have a question for both of the women here.
Okay.
Why is it that when women find a guy who meets all their emotional needs, he may not have the most, he might not be a Michael B. Jordan looking type, but let's say he meets all of your emotional needs. How come women don't reciprocate that back at all times? Why is it he's what I need, like you said, but he's not? I'm not really vibing with him like that. Why is that?
I know with me personally in that situation, I wasn't over the situation I was in before, and it was like I said, I was in a messed up situation, and it's like, okay, I this is what I need, and it's like, okay, this is the upgrade. As far as just feelings, how this person treats me. But also I think, as human beings, we all like some sort of chase. I know guys like it more, but with a woman, it's like, okay, this is a tad bit easy. Something make me feel like I'm not working for you, but in the sense of okay, I want to know that this is worth it. Cause then, what's so crazy? When a guy is way too nice at first, I'm like, is it because you like me or are you just like this in general? I want to feel like that you're into me, not this is just you and you do this to every female. I want to know that I'm special and you you're doing this because you're interested in the Rayven,
Rayven is speaking a word. That is true. That's a reality check for tonight. I think reciprocation is important. And I think that's what's so brilliant about this movie is it reverses the roles, right? So you see the guy that's tricking off on the girl. We see that all the time. And I think that when men, usually we see men doing that, a lot of times they don't wait to make sure the woman is reciprocating their feelings. So I think when men don't wait, he's thinking, I'm doing everything for her, but she wasn't really into him in the beginning. And as we see in the movie, like when you try to do things to get love in return, it doesn't work like that. So I think it's funny because men expect women a lot of times to be just happy when a guy is doing all that. And it's like,
yes, right.
We still want someone that we're interested in, it's not just, I think that a lot of times, guys are the hunters. So they're like, okay, I pick you, you should be happy. And it's like, I want to pick you too.
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly.
Learning tonight. I got it.
Yeah, but those are all really good points. I think this movie has a lot of good talking points to it. Like I said, because it kind of reverses the roles that we're used to, right? We're used to seeing it the other way. Now, a big piece of this is the abuse that Dee goes through by the hands of her father. Mm-hmm. So I want to ask you, like, Rayven, how were you able? I mean, some of those scenes were hard to watch. So I'm sure it was heavy to actually be in. Mm-hmm. She kind of takes over the role of the woman of the house after her mother leaves, and her father is extremely abusive. That the movie alludes to, like I said, his him being a military vet, and her being the one that kind of nurtures him and does the nurturing when the mother is unable to do it and she abandons them. So how were you able to kind of get through that? What did you pull on to get through those scenes and just to be in that space during those early scenes?
It was more so thinking about the person in this entire world that like I love the most, right? And it's like sometimes things happen in life, whether it's mentally or physically, to where that person isn't in full control of what they can do, but that you have this obligation to this person and you truly do love this person. Mm-hmm. But it's like, even though you're not really getting that in return, you still feel like you have an obligation to make sure this person is okay because your love is that deep. Mm-hmm. So I thought about, for me, it was my mom. My mom was ever in a situation like that to where she went off to the military, and she's like, she comes back after everything that, we've been through and how I've seen her before. Uh-huh. And it's like, she comes back and then she has something that she can't control. And it's like, I know this is not you.
Yeah.
I know it's not you. And I know if I let you just go dry, then nobody else will help you. So it's literally my obligation. So I'm gonna have to push through it because I know you do the same for me. Yeah.
But there was a scene where the police come to the door. Mm-hmm. And they ask Dee, is she okay? Mm-hmm. And it feels like there's a glimmer of a second where she wants to ask for help.
She wants to ask for help, but that's my dad. That's her dad. It's her dad. It's like, I know everything's not okay, but things could be worse if I.
Yeah. Let me ask you guys this, because obviously the police brutality thing is something that has been difficult for all of us to watch. And I think showing what the flimsiness of how people become police officers and how there's not enough, there to actually censor, get kind of make people go through a more of a trial period or even have a better way of screening. Tequan, how do you kind of interpret that? Because we see so much, especially with Black men, with the police, and then there's this feeling of fear with the police. That's mentioned in the movie as well, with his father saying, "We don't like police around here. We don't want you to be a police officer." So how do you kind of where are you? How do you feel about that now?
It really, even myself, like I always say, is like I'm not doing anything wrong. I've been acting for 20 years, and still, if I'm driving and a police gets behind me, I am dead nervous. And I stop and think about it, and I'm like, not just nervous. Anybody gets nervous, but I'm scared. Being nervous and being scared are two different things.
Two different things, right?
Right, are two different things. And I think what you were saying with the screening part is, what happens is they have a lot of cops that come from different areas, or a lot of police that come from different areas who have never been in these certain areas before. So there's a disconnect from the very beginning. They don't understand each other. And if two people don't understand each other, the space in between is only space for opportunity. And there's fear in there. And then, you know, so you have these cops in these neighborhoods they've never been in. And when you put a scared person in any type of situation, they're going to react. You know, the reaction is going to not make sense because you're scared.
Right.
And the first thing you do is pull a gun because you're afraid.
You're trying to protect yourself because you're not familiar with that culture or that look. Yeah.
So a lot of these cops, they, you know, not to fault them because they do wrong, and that is wrong. But I think if they would just get out there and get to know these people in the neighborhood that they're actually policing, it would make it a lot easier for people to see eye to eye on things.
Yeah.
Once you eliminate that fear, it can make a connection that will be a lot safer for young Black men, young Black women, Black people in general.
I agree. I agree with that. As long as they're not police officers like D. that
you just fell in love with the person, that's all.
Yeah. Well, I think, you know, for someone like D, let me ask you this, Rayven, for someone, how do you think, and I know we're not trying to solve any problems, we're just, you know, sharing conversation that hopefully this movie will invoke, but what type of things do you guys think that should be put in place so that we are able to screen out people that have real issues? Because Dee was not a bad person. She just had been abused and was very mentally unstable, you know? And so with her putting a gun in her hand, power, she was definitely going to, you know, to self-destruct. So what do you think after playing this role are some of the things that we can put in place to have a better screening process and training process for police officers?
Yikes. Well, oh, Jesus. I'm not sure about like how you can, because sometimes we don't even know.
Yeah.
So it's like how because I mean you do take psychological exams, right? But well, you know what? Wait, I don't know if I'm allowed to say that. Because
you can
say for instance, if someone didn't pass, I think that it should be more of a thing to making sure every piece of paperwork is validated. Because sometimes it is a sign that like this person is a little off. But if this person does this one thing and come back, then it's like, okay, then you're perfectly fine. Like, no, I guess be more aware of the initial signs. Like if your gut tells you that this person is not okay, maybe they're not okay, and maybe you know they shouldn't be
passed through. Right. Yeah. What about you, Tequan?
As far as
just the police officer, the screening process for police officers.
Like Rayven was saying, I think some people are even unaware themselves what problems they have until they're triggered. So, you know, even the ones that get through scot-free doesn't necessarily mean that they're okay. You know, that's the problem.
Yeah.
You know, I went to a therapist many times and they're like, you're perfectly fine. I'm like, I'm not though. I'm just being honest.
Right.
You know, they were like, we don't need to see you. You're fine. I was like, I'm trying to tell you, I need to see you. But so sometimes you'll pass that test with underlying problems, and that seems to be the case. You know, because anybody can put on a smile and get through, but it is all what happens when something triggers that emotion that you were hiding.
Yeah,
and the true self comes out, and they can't really screen that. That's unscreenable.
Yeah,
I guess, but you know, going back to like because you know how Tequan mentioned that a lot of people aren't connected to the area they're in. Maybe like shadowing, like doing a community outreach, like and like really not on duty, just shadowing an on-duty officer who's already familiar with this area to try to get that vibe more to see if you're okay with doing it, you know, to get more comfortable.
Like a process where they have to be a part of that community. Maybe you just don't go through training and then get your badge.
Right.
You have to go almost like a residency, right? So where you have to be in that community. And be around
something like that, you know, get out. You know, it should be mandatory for you to get out and go play basketball with the kids, or maybe every police officer needs to spend at least an hour a week or hours a week in a certain community off duty, like you said, and just spend time, because really that will prevent a lot of things. If a cop drives by and sees a bunch of boys hanging out, you know, it's automatic that they're selling drugs and got weapons on them. Maybe they just hang out right here. because it's safe right here instead of being on the block where the real trouble is.
Right.
You know, you never can assume things. So maybe that would be a dope training process, off duty shadowing. Dope.
Well, you guys heard it right here from TV1, blood on her back. Problems, right? We're solving police problems.
We're solving problems here.
So we're talking with actors Tequan Richmond and Rayven Ferrell, and both of them are young, bright, have a litany of shows under their belt. Talk about what's coming up next for you guys both. Let me ask the lady first. Rayven, what's coming up next for you, and how has this been? I mean, you're on a huge movie. This is a huge movie that's coming out on TV1. Are you excited about your career right now?
Oh yeah, I'm super excited. You know, it's easy. It was easy to kind of like be skeptical just because of quarantine.
Yeah.
And we were like all like not knowing what the heck is happening. Because you know, just the industry itself was in a hiatus. But as far as future projects, I have something that I already filmed. I'm not really sure the release date. It's called The Violent Heart. And as
a big title, that's a very big title. That's a big title, The Violent Heart. Wow.
Yeah. It's actually a mental awareness film as well. But yeah, I'm not exactly sure when that is going to be released. And as far as filming, I'm just auditioning, I'm perfecting my craft, and I'm waiting for the next thing.
There you go. Tequan, are we coming back with next season of Boomerang?
I don't know.
I hope so.
I hope so as well. I hope so. But in the meantime, I'm just writing and studying my directing and anything else that I can do behind the camera.
Nice.
Because I only got so many more years in front of this camera. Hopefully many, but you know, I do.
Morgan Freeman is still in front of the camera.
That's a fact.
Right.
Just like Rayven said, perfecting our craft and being ready for our next opportunity that comes in 2021. Hopefully, when this COVID stuff finally clears up.
How are you both dealing with everything? I know we talked about, obviously this movie talks about mental health awareness, and Rayven said you're doing another movie with that. How do you keep your mental health in a good space, especially with some of the things that we've experienced over this year?
I think more so just like putting yourself first. And like just finding what your piece is. You find what your piece is, and you make sure that you spend an hour doing whatever that is a day, you know, just to make sure, because a lot of things can happen, whether it's career, whether it's relationship, whether it's life, you know, but just making sure that you find that sense of just peace and making sure that you're content with yourself and knowing that, like, you know, if things don't go your way, not having expectations with people or things, that you aren't down about things if things don't go a certain way. You can just like, okay, well, let me just keep going. Keep your faith strong.
That's fact.
Juan, what about you? How do you stay up when things are down?
Man, I like to work. So it's like if I'm not working on one thing, then I'm working on another. I'm starting my first trucking business.
No.
Yeah.
You know, I learned the investment game over quarantine. I, of course, hit that Apple and Tesla stock when it dropped. And,
I hate you about that.
Yeah, so like, I think just being multifaceted, like, just having multiple things going on at once, so you never get an idle mind is just the devil.
Devil's
work. So, I just got to keep busy and just, once you do that and keep your head down, by the time you look up, everything will be back.
I like that. So we're going to go back, and our reality checks for tonight is connectivity is key in our communities when it comes to our police. And I like what Rayven said earlier about finding your peace to keep your mental health in a great place. But this movie is so it's so necessary. I think at this time, you guys did a great job. And I hope it reminds people to make sure that they're in a great mental space. And if they're not, to go and actually talk to somebody about it. If Dee's father had talked to someone about it, he might not have abused his daughter, which might not have caused her to go down the road that she did. If whatever was going on with Trey at home, if he didn't get help for that, he might not have manipulated Dee. The movie has a surprise ending. I did not expect Dee to go that far.
You can't.
I didn't expect She wild out, but I'm gonna let you guys tell people where they can see the movie, when they can tune in and support.
So Monday night, November 16th, Monday at 8 p.m. Tune in to TV1. check out Blood on Her Badge.
Yes, sir.
All right, well, give people your social media. We'll go back to let the gentleman go first. Tell people your social media, how they can keep up with you and all the many things that you have going on, Tequan.
My social media is at T-Rich. That's at TDASH. TDASHRICH. And that's on Instagram and Twitter.
Okay. Rayven?
Mine is at Rayven Ferrell. That's at RayvenFerrell on all platforms.
Awesome. Well, you guys tune in on Monday, November 16th.
Yes.
Tequan, Blood on Her Badge. These guys do a great job. Hopefully the conversation on police reform and communities will continue and kind of get even a little bit of more motivation and fuel behind them because of this movie. Thank you guys for hanging out today on Reality Check. We really appreciate it.
Thank you for having us.
Of course. Good luck. We'll see you guys Monday at 8 on TV1.
Monday.
Thank you. See you.
Bye-bye. All right. And that was another edition of Reality Check. Connectivity is key. I really hope that we can start to do that in our communities. I think those are great points. I'm sure we're not the only people that are saying that, but fear comes from the unknown. So when people are in our communities and they don't know us, they're not familiar with us, there's that fear there. So hopefully this can be a small piece of that healing. And as Rayven said, everyone find your peace. Finding your peace is so important as we round the third quarter of 2020 and prepare for 2021, regardless of what's going on. Make sure that you find your peace. Hopefully your peace is here on Rolling Out and joining me for Reality Checks. I've enjoyed having you as always. We'll be back next week with more Reality Check. This has been your host, Christal Jordan, and I'll see you next time.